So what came after MS-DOS? Windows 1.0. And what came after Windows 1.0? Windows 2.0. And what came after Windows 2.0? Windows 3.0. And what came after Windows 3.0? Windows 3.1. And what came after Windows 3.1? Windows NT 3.1. And what came after Windows NT 3.1? Windows 95. And what came after Windows 95? Windows NT 4.0. And what came after Windows NT 4.0? Windows NT 5.0. And successfully turned to Windows 2000. And what came after Windows NT 5.0? Windows 98. And what came after Windows 98? Windows Neptune. That turned into Windows XP. Anyways, what came after Windows Neptune? Windows 2000. And what came after that? Windows Millennium and Distant. And what came after that? Windows XP. And what came after Windows XP? Windows Server 2003. And after that? Windows Longhorn. And what came after that? Vista. And what came after that? Windows Server 2008. And what came after that? Windows 7. And what came after Windows 7? Windows 8 Consumer Preview. And what came after Windows 8 Consumer Preview? Windows Server 2012. And what came after that? Windows 8. And what came after Windows 8? Windows 8.1. And what came after that? The fan made Windows 9. And what came after that? Windows 10 built 10,074. And what came after that? Windows 10. And what came after that? Windows Server 2016. And what came after that? Windows Server 2019. And what came after that? Windows 10X. And what came after that? Windows 11. And what came after that? The final Windows 12. Yep.